to meet everybody. I've been in the sustainability space for my whole career, passionate really about climate mitigation in the private sector and what companies can do to reduce their carbon footprint. So after getting an MBA and a master's in environmental management, I went to go work for Unilever for 3 years on their supply chain team and then on their sustainability team. And while I was there, my friends and family were having problems because they really wanted to know how their products were impacting the environment. What type of diaper should they buy for their newborn, or what the real deal was with aluminum in deodorant. And after asking me a bunch of questions, I didn't know where to direct them towards because you had these wonky academic papers, which are tough for normal people to understand. And then on the other side, we have this rise of bloggers saying things like eco-friendly, chemical-free, which don't mean anything and are not based in any type of data. And so I really wanted to find something that was based in science, but also accessible to the normal human being. And that's really how Finch was born. And so Finch is sort of a two-sided marketplace, and we do two things. The first is we decode product sustainability for shoppers. So we generate science-backed scores on a scale of 1 to 10 that gives consumers real information on what they're looking at and alternatives. And then through this extension that I'll talk about in a minute, we're decoding sustainability for CPG brands. So we're helping them understand what the willingness to pay is for their consumers, what their consumers are most interested in seeing, and how their greenwashing is actually negatively impacting their entire company. So we have a browser extension where it works on Chrome now. It's unfortunately only in the United States, but we're growing globally quickly. And when you go on Amazon.com, you're able to type in a product, see its score, and then make alternative choices if you're interested for more highly scored products. So the big picture here is today we're scoring consumer products through our extension, helping users buy products that are better for the planet. As we do this, we collect a lot of really valuable data on, as I mentioned, willingness to pay, preferences. Are people more interested in waste or in water or human health? We package that data, we anonymize it, and we sell it to brands. And over time, the overarching goal for Finch is that we will improve the CPG industry so that any product that companies are making can have the right information to make the best decisions from manufacturing all the way through. So how we rate, we take several thousand data points. We look at a product category overall. So let's look at detergent, for example, and we figure out what are the impacts of detergent. Is it shipping? Is it packaging, materials, ingredients, etc.? We weight those quantitatively based on what the scientific literature is telling us. And then we split that up into 6 different scores. And you can see here, climate, ecological, well-being, raw materials, waste, and water. Each one of those gets an individual score. We then feed that information in a machine learning model, and then we scrape the public domain for anything we can find about a specific product. And so it's highly scalable. We've rated millions of products in 85 categories. We've been lucky enough to get a lot of recognition. I've been on the Today Show twice, and we're quickly becoming that known party who has information on sustainability when it comes to consumer choices.
1 minute warning.
We have a fantastic partnership with Microsoft Bing, where when you go on Bing.com, that's 2% of the world that uses Bing. We will you can look at certain products, and then Microsoft will surface the Finch scores, and so it's incredible visibility for us, and it just shows that retailers are really craving this type of information. And that's our business model, where we charge companies for our data. We are currently raising $3 million in a seed round, and that will get us 14 months to our Series A to really build out this rating system and expand on different retailers, expand our category base, etc. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks for presenting. Thanks for sharing what you guys are doing. Let me bring in our other investors here. While I'm doing that, what is your target? What do you need to pull off a successful Series A?
We need to get more users, which means we need to have more product categories rated for the most part, and we need to be on more retailer sites. And so right now we're just on Amazon. We'd like to expand to Target, Walmart, Sephora, etc. Once we do that, it will be much easier for us to have user acquisition, have our costs down. And once we get to 10,000 users, we'll be able to really package that data and sell it to brands, which we need to prove in our Series A.
How did you get Bing on board, and what's the partnership look like? Is it paid?
Bing reached out to us. They heard about us probably through the amazing PR that we've gotten. And they really want to be a leader in sustainable search. They want their consumers to be able to make better purchasing decisions. They don't have the resources to do that in-house. A lot of people think a big company like Bing, like Microsoft, would have all the resources at their disposal, but it's been surprising that companies like Microsoft, Amazon, et cetera, really would rather a third party take care of this. And so our partnership with them was an integration fee and then a monthly fee over the next 2 years. And that monthly fee is based on the 85 categories that we've rated. And so as we expand, we'll charge more for that.
What's the monthly fee for 85 categories?
That's confidential. I can't share that information, but our total revenue thus far has been around $200,000.
Okay. So it's like 10K, 15K a month. Liliia, Jonas, Thore, do you guys have questions? I'll hand things over to you.
Yeah, I'll ask follow-up question on revenue to the extent you can share, Lizzie. So what about your next 12 months revenue? Your pipeline, basically. Your pipeline. Yeah.
Yep. So we're currently talking. We have probably 15 companies in our short-term pipeline right now who we are all talking to, including Walmart, Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, the ones that you can think of. Google search, of course. And with all of those, it's a similar model where it's an integration fee and then a monthly fee based on how many categories they're interested in. So we're talking to, for instance, some baby brands. They're not interested in all 85 of our categories, so that monthly fee would be less. That will take us through over the next 8 to 10 months. And then ideally, we would have enough users on our extension side to also package the data that we're selling back to the brands. And that, it's a different type of data, but it's the same setup where it's an integration fee and then a monthly fee.
Gotcha. Lizzie, and what about international expansion? So presumably you go to Asia. Is it going to be as easy for you to analyze whatever products they have there in China, in Japan, and rate them?
Yes, first of all, that's a very huge priority for Bing. Microsoft, as you know, is an incredibly global company, and it's important to them that we have a global scale. And so the lucky news for us is that they'll incentivize us to really, really go internationally, probably sooner than we would have expected to. The difficulty right now is that our ratings are based on our consumers living in the United States. And so it's less about the difficulty with products made in Asia. Plenty of the products we're surfacing are made in China and all over the world. But that's based on a shipping footprint that goes back to the United States because we're assuming our end user is there. So the difficulty will be creating an algorithm that says, okay, this consumer is based in Australia, China, etc., and the product is being made in XYZ country, and so how we sort of triangulate as opposed to just having a one-way to the United States, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And one last question from me. So are you, when you're engaging in conversations with prospective customers, so are you targeting producers of goods, or are you targeting marketplaces? So when you're going to talk to Amazon or Walmart, are you suggesting we would rate all or most of your products, whatever is your capacity at that given point in time? Or are you going to Procter & Gamble and saying we will rate your products, and whenever you sell them anywhere on any platforms, they will be rated? How?
It's mostly to the marketplaces. If we're rating Procter & Gamble's products regardless, because we need to do that for Amazon, and so Procter & Gamble probably wouldn't pay to have their products rated because it's happening anyway, and they can find those scores on Amazon. And so it's really to those marketplaces. If you think about sort of climate pledge friendly, which is Amazon's sort of green ratings versus clean by Sephora, and then a couple of others, they all use different definitions, and they all don't have a chief sustainability officer in-house. And so it's really beneficial for them, from our several dozen conversations, for those types of companies to just outsource it. It's much less expensive to pay us than it is to build this out in-house for them.
Right. Great. Thank you, Lizzie.
Can you sell the comparison data to the brand? So you've got all of these different searches that are coming up. You could sell the click, almost A/B testing information. So Coca-Cola can see that 76% of consumers are clicking on the Pepsi one versus the Coke one.
Yeah, that's the incredibly valuable data that we'll get from the insights. So it's not only that example, but it's also, 20% of people searched for Tide detergent and ended up going with 7th generation. That's information that Tide does not have right now, or 7th generation for that matter, right? They're seeing who's buying it, maybe, but they're not seeing what the journey was and how many people decided not to buy and chose a competitor instead.
Awesome. I didn't mean to hack in there. Jonas, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for the presentation, Lizzie. I was wondering, could you talk a little bit more about the data accuracy? So where are you basically getting your data from? You said like you have thousands of data points. Are you working with third-party companies together to gain the data? I'm sure like everyone here, at least from the investor side of things, talked with lots of food printing companies over the last years. How is your data in compared to startups focusing on one specific vertical, and also in terms of emissions from scope 1 to scope 3?
Thank you, Jonas. It's a really important question, because to be very clear, we are not a life cycle analysis company, right? We would never claim to be as detailed as a life cycle analysis, because scalable for millions of products, right? And so I want to make that super clear. We don't know third-tier suppliers. We're not on the manufacturing floor of these individual companies. We've found, I think, our sweet spot where we've gotten to get enough information while continuing to be scalable. And so where that information comes from is, yes, to your point, a lot of third-party data sources. So obviously the easy ones are if it's certified, right? If it's B Corp certified or Rainforest Alliance certified, we get that information. We have ESG data from S&P or other pieces of data. And then basically anything that's in an SEC filing, a sustainability report, anything that a company has claimed publicly, we will take into account. We will not take any information from companies unless it's publicly available, for two reasons. First, we're a team of 7, and we don't have the capacity to sort of vet every single thing that's coming through just to us if it's not been published. And our assumption is, if it's been published in a reputable source online, that's good enough for us to go off of.
Okay, thank you. And another question would be, how many active users do you have at the moment?
We have 13,000 subscribers to our newsletter, and then we have 1,700 active users on our extension, which means that 1,700 people are coming and visiting the extension week over week for at least 4 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
For me, thank you for the presentation. Also from my side, a quick follow-up on the previous question: is there any way for the companies to basically influence the algorithm in like publishing articles or publishing, as you said, sustainability reports about products?
Can you clarify? Is there a way for them to influence it?
So as you said, the algorithm is sourcing from the web or from public information, right? So if they would just publish, let's say, a couple of articles that would like increase their sustainability rating for the product, or is that somehow fixed in the system?
I'm not sure I fully understand, but let me know if this gets at it. when a company publishes something that they've done, right? So their scope 1 emissions, their disclosure to CDP, and anything sort of along those lines in the 6 categories that we rate in, we will take that into account. So yes, when they publish things, that will sort of improve their sustainability impact. Only once has it happened where a company has come to us and said, well, we're doing, we're paying for carbon offsets, but we don't talk about it because we don't think consumers care. And our answer is, that's not our problem. Like, if you want to get credit for all the good things that you're doing from an environmental standpoint, you need to be more transparent, because the writing's on the wall, particularly Gen Z and millennials, but really any consumer is really starting to demand this type of information. And so that works out with us getting that type of data.
He's talking more about black hat SEO, where people create their own articles about themselves having great sustainability. I think it's probably more of an issue when it comes to Google because of that scale. Maybe in the future people would play that game, but you'd have to be pretty forward thinking.
It's not really an article. I mean, they can say whatever they want in an article, but unless it's data that's backed by, this is our source of our carbon offset and this is how we're certified, et cetera. If they say, we saved X amount over the past year, that's not helpful for us. We need deeper. That doesn't count as a data set. And so articles published doesn't really do much.
Okay. And then for the Chrome extension, is it possible at some point that it's platform, so that you don't have to onboard Amazon, but it will just rate any product on any website? Or
so we have no partnership with Amazon. We've just rated their products. And so, yes, that's happening in real time. It's a lift for us from a technological standpoint to get on other sites, which is sort of what we're doing in real time. But we're able to do that right now. We basically only need, a product description, a universal code, and a couple of other data points, and we're able to rate anything on the public domain. So that's sort of our short term, is getting us beyond Amazon. And then also we know we need a mobile solution because plenty of people only shop on mobile.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
One question that I would have is, how do you scale up the growth on this? With something like this, I feel like you should be able to have really strong organic growth without having to have it be paid acquisition, because you're not going to earn a ton of money per user. How do you acquire mass users, and how do you get that word of mouth or that viral scale?
Yeah, we do have really good growth, organic growth. Our paid has been, relatively new and is just helping sort of overlay the organic. I would say, having targeted marketing around, like, finding people who shop on Target and then making sure that they know that this exists. The beauty of an extension is that once someone downloads it, they don't have to think about it again. It's not like an app that they need to remember to open. And so our firm belief is that we've gotten to the extent of our organic users for people that shop on Amazon. And once we expand to other retailers and we become more of a Honey, and the co-founder of Honey is actually an investor in us, so we're closely partnering on that, then it will be much easier and a no-brainer for people to download it just naturally.
I just have one last comment before we hand it over to the next startup. This one's not so much a question, but I think the Bing partnership might be it might be overvalued, because the majority of people that use Chrome probably aren't using Bing, because if they're giving their data to Google anyways, then they would just go with Google because the search engine's better. So that might be something to, I don't know, potentially why you're having a lot more subscribers than downloads potentially.
But that's good, right? That then we're getting Chrome users and then Microsoft users because there's not an overlap. Isn't that a good thing?
But if they're using Bing, they're probably not using Chrome.
Why is it? Right. So we're getting there's no overlap. So that's a good thing.
Okay. I see what you're saying. So that's why they're not downloading. Never mind. Scratch what I said.
Right, so they would download it because they can look on Microsoft.
Okay. Well played. Touche. Very good.